Hey, good afternoon. Welcome to this first class in your MBA program. I'm Ken Armstrong, and I'm going to be the person who will be facilitating and working with you throughout the next 7 weeks as you get started down the road to that MBA degree. Hey, I respond to a lot of things. I respond to Dr. A, Dr. K, Ken, Dr. Armstrong. Whatever you're most comfortable with will work for me. So feel free to say hey you or whatever else when we are communicating. Thought it might be helpful if I just shared a little bit with you about my background, and then we can talk a little bit about the course that you are about to start on. I started my career at Dow Corning Corporation in Midland, Michigan, and then within a few years entered Christian higher education. And that's where I've spent most of my career. I think it's important for you to know that it's not just a coincidence that I landed in Christian higher education. Probably the most important thing about me is that I am a follower of Christ. I want to do what I can do to lift him up and to bring about his kingdom on earth in any way that I can. So that's kind of who I am at the core. I am a Christ follower. And I suppose I'm an educator. And hopefully at some points I've been a leader as well. So anyway, I went to Northwestern University in Evanston, Illinois for my doctoral program, did my work in strategic planning. And strategic planning and global business and leadership are the areas that I have taught the most over the last 40 plus years. In addition to that, I've been an administrator in several Christian business schools around the country. I'm a Midwesterner. I'm from Noblesville, Indiana. Was born and raised in Michigan, and then spent most of my career in either Illinois or Indiana at Olivet Nazarene University or Anderson University. I was fortunate after I, quote, retired to spend some years at George Fox University as dean of their business school, and then have a long-standing relationship with Point Loma that culminated when I was their interim dean and led them through the dean search that resulted in Professor Dan Bothy being selected as the dean of the Permanian Business School. Met my wife Audrey when I was 14 at Nazarene Youth Camp in Michigan. We've been married over 50 years. We have 2 daughters, 2 sons-in-law, 3 grandchildren, 2 of which are currently attending Christian colleges. We have 1 dog, Muffin, and Muffin is the only one who's living at home. So that's kind of who we are. God has been good, and it has been great fun and given me great satisfaction to be involved in Christian higher education all these years. Well, the other thing that's important is that I'm still living in the glow of that wonderful World Series last fall. I'm a diehard Cubs fan, and to see them finally break that curse or whatever it was and bring home that trophy was just, it couldn't get much better than that. So we're looking for a repeat this year as well. Let's talk a little bit about the course. This is your first course. It's a management course. And we're talking about management in a changing environment. Those of you in the workplace know that the change is rampant. There are changes almost every day. Changes in corporate structure, changes in ownership, changes in laws that affect employee relations and affect things like fringe benefits. There are changes in international relations and international locations. So one doesn't have much chance to get comfortable. And our focus to look at many areas of management over these next 7 weeks will be to look at that area that we call managing or leading organizational change. That's what we'll be about. As you probably already know, we'll have 2 textbooks that we will use as the basis for our time together. The first book, the Spectre textbook, is more of a standard textbook. It's going to talk about theories of change, applications of change, what are different approaches, what are the reasons for change, what can we do to make change more effective. And so that will be more of what you would expect in a standard textbook. The second textbook is more of a professional book. If you walk into Barnes & Noble, you'll probably find John Cotter in the business management shelf. And the book we're using talks about 8 pitfalls of change. Cotter is without a doubt the leading change expert in the professional area today. And so that book will become very important to us in one of the major pieces of the class. From the Spectre textbook, there are also cases in that textbook, and one of the big pieces of this class is that each of you will be a part of a team who will present a case analysis of one of those textbook cases to the class as a whole. And then the class will be expected individually to respond to you, and you will respond to their responses, if you will. So that's one major part of the course. And in addition to that, in the last week of the course, each of you will be asked to write an individual case analysis in a little more depth. That will be a part of that final calculation and final pieces, major pieces of your grade. So we have kind of 2 things we've talked about so far. The reading you'll be doing, and in addition to the reading of those 2 textbooks, there are several articles that you'll be asked to read. There will be several videos that you will be encouraged to watch. And then you're going to be asked to make your reflections on those and integrate those, compare and contrast those as we go through the course. Okay? Now, the second ongoing piece is relates directly to Cotter, although much of what we do in relation to that will be drawn from Spectre as well. But you will be asked to develop, to plan a change project for an organization. Obviously, in 7 weeks, there's no expectation that you would implement that project. But we do want you to look for a problem that needs to be solved. You know, it's one of those, man, if we could ever get over this trouble area, things would work smoothly. We could be a lot more competitive if only we could do this, if we could solve this bottleneck, if we could find a way for these departments to work more closely together, whatever it might be, all right? It's a problem area that needs to be changed in the organization. It certainly should be something you're involved in, but not kind of project that you could decide what it is, do it, change your workplace, and that would be it, that no one else would be involved but you. You should look for a problem that's bigger than that, a problem that would require many people to implement it correctly. It might involve several departments. Okay? Now again, I'm not talking about a project that's way up at the top of the organization, but I am talking about something that needs to be changed. And in order to change it, several people are going to be impacted. And maybe several areas of the organization may be impacted. All right? So where do you find those things? Well, for many of you, it's going to be in your own workplace. You know, your supervisor said, can you find a way to solve that? Boy, we need to get over this hump here and take care of this. For some of you, it might be in another organization that you're involved in, a not-for-profit, a church, a charitable organization, something like that, all right? So it doesn't have to be your workplace. But I hope it's a place where you are involved individually and have some knowledge of that. Then over the course, starting with week one, in week one you're going to be asked to write up that topic area. Describe the organization a little bit, and then describe the change that you would like to implement in that organization. And then in the weeks that follow, using SPECT or SUM, but depending heavily on Cotter's work, we're going to ask you to analyze that change project in light of what Cotter tells us are some of the roadblocks to successful change, and to tell how you would in your change project deal with those areas specifically in your organization to make sure that this project that you would like to implement could be implemented successfully. All right? So each week you will have a change project progress report that will deal with a part of that, and then you'll also get a chance to respond to your classmates' writing and maybe give them your feedback, not only on their writing, but just on their thinking, okay? So one of the things that makes this kind of format work is that you learn from each other, and if you're open with each other. None of us come in having all the answers, so we can learn a lot from each other. And that will culminate with a final paper that is due in week 7. That will be your change project presentation, if you would, the written project. So that's kind of what we're about, huh? We've got readings, we've got videos. So there is a body of work that conceptually will help us understand this whole area of change and what it entails. We'll look at specific areas like leadership and change, like human resources and change as part of that. And then there's the case analysis coming out of those readings, which will help us apply some of that and think about what that means in given situations. And then we have this culminating course project, which will run from beginning to end, that deals with developing a plan that identifies a project and a plan then to implement a change in the organization. So that's kind of what we're about, okay? The other thing I would say to you as you start a course and as you start a new program, there's always an adjustment period. Especially at the beginning, it probably is going to take more time than you thought it would, and you've got to find a way to organize your life a little differently than it has been up till now. So I would encourage you to stay on top of things. The best way to keep from getting discouraged is to put forth the time it takes to stay on top of the assignments, and then in a relatively short period of time you'll get used to the ebb and flow of this graduate work, and it'll be a lot easier for you to adjust to. I am really looking forward to working with you, and we start next week, huh? So enough talking, time to get to work. Blessings as you start this program. That's all for now.